just for the benefit of everyone watching or listening, wherever they might be, do you mind giving us a little bit of introduction, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, thanks, Mohammed. Good to see you again today. My name's Cassim. I the founder of Kudos Recruitment, and we are a tech recruitment company. We focus on a particular niche, which is in Microsoft software development, predominantly based in the Northeast, but we do recruit across the UK in a remote capacity and also in a couple of different regions, but most of them that are based in the north of England. So I've been in recruitment, I'd say about 10 years now, and always been in IT recruitment. And then I have ran Kudos and found Kudos around 1 year ago. And prior to that, I was also a co-owner of another recruitment business that focused on tech as well. So I have around 7 years experience as a recruitment business owner. And then prior to that, just a short stint, maybe three to 4 years of working within a recruitment business as well.
Seasoned recruiter then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a long part of my life in recruitment.
Yeah. How did you find the transition going from like employment into business?
A little bit naive, but the transition was good because when you're an employee for somebody, you just wear maybe a couple of hats in what you do. You know what your tasks are, what your responsibilities are. But as soon as you run a business, then you've got to quickly get an understanding of finances, accounting, marketing, branding, legislation. There's quite a lot of things, but to be honest, they're not that difficult. It's just having an understanding that, yes, you are going to have to learn, but also just constantly learn, constantly be open to learning. So I think that's one of the things that I realize is like when you're an employee for somebody working within a recruitment business, a lot of things are done for you. The setup, the process, everything are there. But then when you work for yourself, you have more options in terms of you have a bit more flexibility in choosing the processes, but then sometimes that can be challenging because you haven't got it there laid out for you and you have to trial and error, try things. Some might work, some might not. But the transition was a good one. I think if you are a solid biller, I think you should be able to maybe keep that aspect of your work in terms of always continue to try and do things that have brought you success in the past, but then know that initially over the first few years, you are going to have to do a little bit extra when it comes to, okay, I need to think more about my branding. I need to think more about structure, how looking at finances, profit and loss, like just knowing the basics really. I mean, obviously that's why you've got bookkeepers and accountants because they can help you with a lot of the stuff, but you need to know your numbers, as they always say. That's like an important part of it. But the transition was good.
Do you find any particular parts of it challenging?
I think it depends. So when I was in my previous business as a co-owner, we actually got to a team of 6. And one of the things myself and my previous business partner we'd never done was we'd never managed people. So we've always worked in recruitment. But as I said, I was only in recruitment maybe 3-4 years before I actually got into business. I think one of the challenges we found that neither of us had managed people. So it's like when we are looking to scale, how that will work and how we can have the right training and the right management and structure in place for that. And again, it was like a trial and error. We had to let go of our first employee after 11 weeks. And that's obviously not something you want to do when you're thinking about you want to grow and scale. But then we tried to improve every aspect of what we do when it comes to scaling. After that, we had to look at, okay, how are we interviewing? Are we effectively interviewing to make sure the right person's coming through? Are we providing them with the correct onboarding? Are we providing them with the correct training? And if we look back at it, we have to take some accountability to say maybe we didn't create the perfect environment for the individual who joined us to thrive. But then at the same time, there were issues with that particular employee that obviously come to light during that time. So it was quite difficult, but again, you always learn from it. You're never going to get it right the first time. So it's just important to just learn from that. So I think that was probably one of the biggest challenges of like when we got to the stage of scaling, and I'm close to that point now in this business. I've got the lessons that I've learned from that, and also obviously your support to have my business structured in a slightly different way than because back then all I knew were what the traditional sort of recruitment company would look like. So it'd be like you get to a certain level of billing, then you hire your staff, they potentially do what you've been doing, and then you just do that and you just go on the same cycle of business development, fulfilling the typical 360 recruiter job. This time around, I'll be doing things differently. So you always learn and you always look to improve.
I think that point has been drilled home during our conversations as well. It's been interesting though, like you made it to 6 employees, which is a great achievement. And then you went backwards from there. I'm going to ask you a few more questions about that because I want to deep dive in at some point. But just to paint the picture a little bit, like can you describe your circumstances like before we actually started having a conversation? Like what did business look like then?
Yes, I'd been So I'd set up Kudos in September. So I think it was about 4 months in when obviously we were introduced and we started speaking. And I do like to write goals down. And when I wrote down some of my goals for this year, one of the things that I'd put was that I want to have large parts of the business automated, and also want to have a virtual assistant to help me in the business as well. So when we got speaking, I know that wasn't initially what we said we would set out to do, but it was good that would be further down the pipeline, and it wasn't something maybe that was like thrust upon me straight away. It was a case of, okay, cool. What does your business look like now? How can we buy you back some hours in your working day to then be able to allow you to then focus on working on the business rather than in the business? And that's one of the challenges, I think, is that when obviously when you're a solo founder, you're always going to have that conflict of, yes, you need to generate sales, you need to win new business, you need to bring new clients on, but unfortunately, as much as you'd like to, you can't dedicate 100% of your time to that. You do have to spend time on working on the business as well. So working on strategy, goals, ideas, marketing, branding, getting your name out there. And I think now, especially with recruitment, when you look at your competition as well, everybody is going down the route of having a good LinkedIn presence, marketing, events, podcasts, from doing like the traditional things, although there is space for that. And obviously, I'm sure we'll discuss the benefits of still doing all those activities in traditional recruitment. You do have to compete with that. So you have to spend time to plan, you have to spend time to structure and get marketing and your voice out there to reach more people. I think, sorry, I've lost track of the question now, but
That's all right. It's okay. It's all good information.
That was what we were looking at. So it was good to then, I think that was the conflict that I was having, was I'm not dedicating enough time working on the business. I'm too focused working in the business, but then I felt like I needed a bit of clarity or a bit of structure to help me get there. So when we had the conversation, it was really good because obviously I'd followed you for a little while and I saw some of your posts and I saw how you developed the business. And I think even then, being honest, because I'd been down, I had the experience of having a team of 6 and all the challenges that come with managing a team. Effectively, I was a recruitment consultant, a billing manager, and a business owner, all 3 jobs. And I was doing all 3 roles as one. And obviously, as you can imagine, that takes a lot of time, a lot of hours. So when I started Kudos, Jenny, like being honest, I was quite happy to be like, you know what, it's just going to be me. I don't have the responsibility of managing anyone. I can sort of do things on my own terms. Hopefully, I don't have to work as much. I don't have to be as stressed as much. But then speaking with you, obviously looking at your history online, I saw a couple of podcasts of yours. I'd seen some of the outreach and obviously some of the content you were doing, and it really resonated with me because I felt you are in a position where I'd want to be. And they always say you should seek out people that are in the industry that are probably, like not necessarily ahead of you, but they're doing things that you want to be doing. And they seem to be like good role models. And I just really liked the way you were. I think I just really resonated with the way you spoke, the way you talked about business and recruitment, and that really resonated with me. So I thought, I'd reach out, and see it was a good decision to reach out at that time. I guess that's the reason why I wanted to work with you. And then obviously I was really glad you were happy to join me, have me as part of your program as well. And you really understood some of the challenges. And just even in that initial call, you had some really good ideas that you were obviously happy to give away for free, because obviously at that point we hadn't committed to anything, but you were saying you'd be able to help me with that. And then quite quickly, my sort of mind shift changed, which was quite important to me, where instead of being like, well, I'll just have the business to myself, I'll have it not as a lifestyle business, but almost like, look, I'm generating enough money to be making a profit, pay myself a decent amount, and I'll happily do that for as long as I can. And I might scale, I might not, I'll just see how it goes. But then following our conversation and structure and things that you've done yourself, and the good thing is by reaching out to someone like yourself, you've done a lot of trial and error, and you've also been down, I guess, the path that I'm looking to go down. So I could have done it myself, but it'd probably take me a long time to get to where you are, where I want to be. Or I could work with you and you will just show me all the shortcuts, say, look, Cassim, we made these mistakes, we've done all these things, and now I can relay to you like what the best way is to overcome them. So that really changed my mindset to thinking, rather than being a recruiter that's going to be working 50, 60 hours for the foreseeable, why not work 40 hours, 30 hours, but you've got the structure in place where you've got processes, structure in your business that then allows you to then generate more income and more revenue. Because yes, I might be working more hours, but most of that will be spent in the business. Whereas if I've got the structure and support, I could then even work less hours, but still have they still have more time to work in the business because the stuff that's working on the business, a lot of that is taken care of, and I've got the support to help me with that as well.
You've said that a few times about working in the business rather than on the business. Was there anything else that you considered to help you solve that problem
I think
before we
what
started speaking?
Yeah. So I signed up with a like an email automation tool, and obviously when it's sold to you, it's almost like this is the silver bullet. All your outreach is going to be automated, and you're going to have loads of responses and things like that. So I did dedicate and put a bit of investment in that, and then quite quickly I found out maybe after 3 months that I was getting some results, but maybe not as much as you'd think with the time invested in it as well. So I had tried to maybe automate certain things in the business by getting some software tools. But I just did feel like, yes, I can look into so many automation tools, but there isn't on recruitment, there's no silver bullet. You have to do a lot of things. And obviously, even when we speak about the program, we both know that it is still quite a detailed, vast program. It can be quite simple, but there is still a lot of moving parts to it as well. So I felt maybe I looked for some shortcuts in terms of software, but what I really needed was maybe a bit of guidance. And I think we'll probably touch on this a little bit later on, but I think one of the big factors was the accountability piece, being able to then speak with you often on our coaching calls, and you being there, not just being like friendly with me, but you challenging me and saying, what have you achieved this week? Could you have done this faster? And again, I'm sure we're going to get onto it. When I look back now, I do wish there were certain things that I'd implemented right away rather than dwelling on it, thinking it might not be right for me. And then 4 weeks later saying, you know what, Mohammed, I wish I'd have just done what you said. So yeah.
Well, we could have been recording this video like a month earlier, but you decided to take most of August off. We are a little bit behind schedule, but I suppose it's nice having that flexibility now. We'll touch on that. One thing that I'm really conscious of, and it is like the human side of it. We've spoken, I mentioned that I've got a young family, I've got a child with special needs, you've got a young growing family as well. Just touching on the human element of it, how did you feel in that moment in time where you'd made this investment, you hadn't yet spoken to me, and you were in that little gap where, you weren't too sure about the growth of it. You had made that investment, it didn't quite go as planned, and now you were considering an alternative route. Like, how did you feel in that moment there?
Yeah, I mean, naturally, it can be quite scary because departing with that sort of money quite early on in the business, it is quite, I'd say, quite nerve-wracking in the sense. But I think for me, I've always been very cautious when it comes to business and very like risk averse. But generally, from speaking to you, I just felt like the ROI would more than make up for that. So I am quite strategic when I look to buy a software or look to do a coaching call or some sort of course on like marketing or sales. I am always considering what the ROI is. And obviously, in recruitment, there's always this adage, which is quite funny, where it's, well, even if it makes me one placement, it pays for itself. But then how many times can you say that about every tool you use? By that point, you have to be making 20 placements to break even. But it's certainly within that range of doing one placement would more than pay for the investment. So I didn't really dwell on it too much. I think from speaking to you, we had the initial call, we had a little initial plan. I think you obviously shared quite a lot of stuff already in the call. And again, as I said, I think like for me, it was a case of, yes, you've given me a lot of info here. I could go away looking at it myself, but I really felt sometimes, obviously, as a solo business owner, it can get a bit lonely as well. And that's obviously the reason why I went on the program with you for some company. But it's just nice to maybe have that sense check or accountability to be like, okay, cool, this is what I need to do. I'm on the right track. And somebody to just hold me accountable to things that we've agreed to doing. So obviously being on the program, you want to make sure that the people that are on the program are right for you as well, not just the other way around, and you can support them. Because I'm sure if you know that or realize quickly that you can't support someone, you'd think you can't help them. But so that's what I was really conscious of. So for me, yeah, the decision was quite easy. But when I look back at history, sometimes I do dwell on things, or I really looking at what the ROI is going to be. But for this one, I felt like at the time I really wanted to, I guess, progress and learn more. And looking at your experience and obviously where you've took your business to, I really felt I can go on a similar journey as well and learn from your successes, but also, I guess, your lessons as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely going to be diving into more of that as well. Was there ever a moment in time, like before we started talking, where you felt like you really wanted to do something, personal or professional, and because you were engrossed in the business, you just couldn't do it?
Yeah, I think it was like looking into automating certain parts of the business, looking into like virtual assistants, looking into how I can structure the business so I can buy more time back. But it was a case of like, where do I begin? What do I start? Doing one placement would more than pay for the investment. So I didn't really dwell on it too much. I think from speaking to you, we had the initial call, we had a little initial plan. I think you obviously shared quite a lot of stuff already in the call. And again, as I said, I think like for me, it was a case of, yes, you've given me a lot of info here. I could go away looking at it myself, but I really felt sometimes, obviously, as a solo business owner, it can get a bit lonely as well. And that's obviously the reason why I went on the program with you for some company. But it's just nice to maybe have that sense check or accountability to be like, okay, cool, this is what I need to do. I'm on the right track. And somebody to just hold me accountable to things that we've agreed to doing. So obviously being on the program, you want to make sure that the people that are on the program are right for you as well, not just the other way around, and you can support them. Because I'm sure if you know that or realize quickly that you can't support someone, you'd think you can't help them. But so that's what I was really conscious of. So for me, yeah, the decision was quite easy. But when I look back at history, sometimes I do dwell on things, or I really look into what the ROI is going to be. But for this one, I felt like at the time I really wanted to, I guess, progress and learn more. And looking at your experience and obviously where you've took your business to, I really felt I can go on a similar journey as well and learn from your successes, but also, I guess, your lessons as well.
Yeah.
I joined webinars with other recruitment trainers. In the past 6-7 years, we have used non-execs. We've had calls, or we've had programs with other maybe like recruitment software, recruitment founders. And I just felt like maybe a lot of those techniques were quite old school. So they were just reiterating and teaching you things that I'd learned 10 years ago. So I just felt those sort of programs won't be relevant to me, because yes, I feel like I'm in a position where I can do with some help, but the help I'm going to receive is just going to be the same as what I've been taught. There wasn't anything new and groundbreaking. And that doesn't mean to say that your program is like totally groundbreaking, but there are some really good things in there which are a lot more modern and which are a lot more up to date. Again, we might delve into this deeper. And I'm not sure I can share everything on there, but it's given me an overall view of like software tools, automation, emails, website, just making sure that all the branding and all the outreach rock solid. So then there's no gaps, or there isn't anything that's lost. I don't want to be, I guess, burning my email domain, for one example, things like that. So a lot of considerations to tools that I'd never used before. And that was really good, because it's very like practical, rather than just the usual of make sure you ring 50 clients a day, make sure you ring 50 candidates a day. There's a lot of practical tools in there which you can set up so they almost work in the background, and you can then still do the outreach, but then you've still got all these tools that are doing the heavy lifting in the background. Yeah, that's what I really wanted, that I felt like I wasn't getting enough of. Obviously, naturally, I wanted to improve my billings as well. So even though I dedicate a lot of time in the business, I did feel like there's areas and gaps in which I can then, by buying more time back, by working on the business and in the business, should naturally result in more billings as well. Obviously, maybe being able to take more time off, which again, at this early stage, I haven't done a lot of, but I can see a pathway to having the structure in the business where then naturally I can take some time off. And obviously, I know there's a couple of acid tests that you're going to be putting in there in the future that will obviously be as well.
I'm saying that after we just said that you took a month off, and now
Obviously with August, it was a case of they had a lot of personal stuff. So really, it wasn't a case of me sat lying on a beach. Unfortunately, that would have been ideal, but I had quite a lot of personal things going on. But the good thing,
you had to attend to your family. It was just a coincidence that, it wasn't a coincidence. It was convenient that it timed with your biggest month that you've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think again, it was a coincidence, but at the same time, it probably did make me feel a bit more relaxed about the fact that, yes, I am having to take this time off to help my family with a move and things like that. So I think that helped in terms of stress, and obviously with what was, going on. So that part of it was quite handy. But I do feel like maybe what I meant by having more time off was like the time to myself, where I'm not thinking about the business, or I'm not so engrossed with other things that I'm still stressing about, where it generally means that I can literally just switch off. Nothing's going to burn down with the business. The business is still there when I get back, hopefully.
Yeah, well, we're partway through at the moment. So
yeah, so I know we've got this acid test coming up, because I know obviously we've talked about them in the program. So look forward to that.
I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm looking forward to it. What about the actual process itself? Like you're basically halfway through at the moment. How have you found the process so far?
Yeah, it's been really good. I think when going into something like this, naturally you do worry about information overload. I don't know if everyone does, but with me, sometimes obviously when you're going to learn something new, it always seems to be harder than it might be. And it always seems like it's going to be a struggle. And again, I probably take this back to the time of you feel guilty as a recruiter that you're not doing the day-to-day work. So you feel guilty that I'm not setting up an interview right now. I'm not ringing candidates. I'm not ringing clients. So I think those sort of worries and things did come into my mind of, will I be dedicating too much time to a program? Will that affect my current billings? Will that affect my current strategy? Am I going to be taking too much work on? Can I handle the extra work that I'm doing on top of the 40, 50 hours? But then the process was really good because it's in sort of bite-sized chunks. And the good thing is, I think when you feel that we've gone past a certain place or when we're ready to move on, you will suggest that, and you would like not force it, but you will suggest it strongly, I guess, or you know that this is where we need to be. But again, that's really good for accountability. But then there hasn't been really any times where I felt like the process was slow. I think if anything, sometimes you just naturally try and maybe slow things down. You think, oh, I can't do that yet. But then I know there's been so many occasions where we've had a coaching call and I'm like to you, oh, didn't take as long as I thought it would be, or it actually didn't take me a while to figure it out as much as I did. But it's been great because I think you're open to obviously seeing how things go as well. So then I know there's been certain times when you've had to adapt things for me, but obviously then certain times when I've either done something quicker, but then sometimes I've taken a long time to do something when you were like, just trust me, or I suggested you did this, you've half done it, but if you'd have done it fully, then we'd have been at this stage maybe 3 weeks ago.
We had that conversation a few times where I think
Yeah,
it was
no,
like there was a few times where I was like, "Can you get this done?" And you were like slowly getting it, and then as soon as you did it, I was like, oh, "I wish I did that soon." I was like, "What have I been saying?"
yeah.
So,
So I think naturally, some like with me, and I know you spoke about this because obviously you've got to know me now over the past few months, is that I do sort of overanalyze some things to the point where I'm like, oh, well, what if we send this particular message and then they come back and they say this or they say this, but then once I've done it, I'm like, no one said that. Why didn't I just do that earlier? Like, why didn't I spend more time doing this? So I think it set out well. I've enjoyed the pace of it because, like I said, I was probably a bit apprehensive about how much time will I have to dedicate to doing something like this, but it's been fine. It's been manageable. And then, as we'll talk about, we had some really good results from it as well.
did you feel like you've touched on it already, but was there anything that you were fearful or doubtful of before?
No, because I think when you look at things, you think of things of like financially and then time wise. And financially, I was in a good place because when I exited my previous business, I had a little bit of money there to then be able to dedicate to something like this. So I think I had the intention of doing something like this, which is obviously quite good. So I think if you have the intention of doing something, that probably makes that worry a little bit easier because I almost knew that I was going to look for a program like this. And to be honest, when I got the pricing for it and everything, I thought this is well worth it in terms of when I was looking at things like this. I've spoken to other people that, not that the price is everything, but it just seemed like I was getting much more ROI for your program compared to others. And then following on from that, yeah, it was more going to be then how much time will I need? And to be honest, because it's like bite-sized learning, you can learn in your own time. You have the coaching calls. You don't really need to spend maybe more than 2 hours a week, I'd say, where you're getting your tasks done and you're on the coaching call. Obviously, you could spend more time if you've got the time in terms of if you've got all your processes and you've got a bit of time that you can dedicate, then it's just the more time you put in, obviously the quicker you'll be able to get through everything as well. But then naturally, some of the steps and the things we put into place, they can take a month or two as well in terms of some of the processes, some of the outreach. It can take a little bit of time. So then whilst that's going
In terms of seeing results,
in
but in
results,
terms of implementation, it's like the
the hours you put in, I should take care of that. But then it's good because then there are other steps in the program that you can do whilst you're waiting for the results of them. So it's not a case of just because getting results will take a month or two that you just don't do anything. You always have something that's coming next and coming next. Yeah, that's been great.
I've got a question for you on that then, because now obviously things have changed a little bit. When you earlier on in the conversation, you said once you left and you'd experimented a little bit, you felt, you know what, if I can just keep working, keep making money, like everything will be fine. I will just be happy, like almost flatlining, if that's the right word, like without sounding offensive about it. Like you are in a comfortable position,
Yeah.
and I'd if I understood it correctly, like for you, that was successful in the sense of where you could envision your business going. Now that you're here, partway through, What does success look like now?
Yeah, I think just my ambitions and I think what I can achieve is a bit clearer and a bit higher. So I'd say definitely my aspirations have grown higher because now I can almost see, or I can see how I can bring more time to myself to then be able to grow more. Because I think you're always in this challenge of you working so much in the business that you're not given enough time to scale and grow your processes to then grow your team as well. So now with having that additional time and strategies, I feel like my aspirations are naturally higher. So my revenue targets are higher. How big a team I want to have is higher as well. And I think I was just putting limits and on my beliefs and limiting myself and putting a ceiling when really there doesn't need to be a ceiling. And I think it's a bit like motivation. I think it can change over time. So of course, when I first set up 6 years ago, my ambitions then were like to grow like a large recruitment team, having 10, 20, 50 members of staff. And then see along the way, we had different challenges and different bumps. And then I thought to myself when I was starting this business as a solo founder, things online, entrepreneurs, you have people that just have one man, one person businesses. So I just thought, well, is that a bad living? I'm doing something that a lot of people don't do, which is having your own business or having your own solo business. I've got flexibility as I'm generating maybe enough money as much as I'm paying myself now. It's still a good standard of living. I'm satisfied with that. But then there is always something like burning inside me. You think, well, there must be more than this. You're working really hard. And I think that's what sort of led me to speak to you, was because I do want to always learn and improve still as well. Because like you said, I can flatline and stagnate. But then even though back then I was thinking, no, I'm still making a good earning, a good living, when I'm flatlining and stagnating, I don't feel like I'm growing. I don't feel like I'm fulfilling my potential. And I am quite self-aware of that. So I just don't think I would be happy long term, even though that was the plan in the first year. I don't think I'd be happy just like prodding along steady Eddie. I want to be trying to get to those higher figures. And then what this has obviously then made me realize, being on your program, that there is a way to get there without having to have 50 members of staff or 20 members of staff. You can obviously get there with considerably less members of staff, still make a good living, but then and then also you can obviously take yourself out of the business as well, and yet the business will still be running with your input as well, or even without in some cases. But it doesn't mean that there's, I guess, a single point of failure in the business, which is just me. If I'm not working, there's no money coming in. If something happens to me, there's no money coming in. So I just need to actually build a business, not just a one person self-employment, I guess.
Yeah, you're right. I suppose the way that I term it, and I suppose it's been said a few times, is like you get from glorified freelancer all the way to business owner. Because if you've read the book Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki, describes it, the four grids of, I don't know if you've read that book, but there's four grids on how he describes it, and the freelancer and self-employed professional employee on one side and the business owner on the other side. And the issue is to do with time, meaning how much time do you have to put into the actual business. But what about you? Where are you at now, business wise?
So it's still myself. I have been consistently billing, doing my tasks, but then at the moment, I'm just been interviewing for virtual assistants. I have one that I'm going to be trialing this week. So I'm at a stage now where a lot of processes we put into place when it comes to automation, when it comes to outreach, they've been completed. And what that has done is allowed me to grow my market a lot. My pipeline has been quite healthy this year as well. I think at one stage I was at 16 live jobs. So that got quite big quite quickly. And then it was a case of, should we have looked into hiring of a year months ago? We probably should have, but at the time it was still like, oh, I don't think I'm ready. There's still things I want to put into place. And then I think now, obviously, again, I'm at that stage where I've been putting training together for the VA and I'm ready to pass over the first task to the VA as well. And it's just, there's been like obviously a mindset shift, which you did say would come and would happen. It just hasn't come as quickly as we could have done. But again, that's probably me being overly cautious again. And I think it was yourself as well, not trying to take me to the point of real uncomfortability. So I think naturally you don't want to be in a comfort zone. Every time you learn something new, every time you bring in a new process, there is going to be an element of uncomfortability. So I think we're probably at that stage now where I'm over the uncomfortability and I'm at that stage where I'm setting tasks to a VA to be able to help me and then buy some hours back. And then from there, hopefully in the coming weeks or months or so, look to hire my first hire as well in terms of a resource. So, well, second hire after like the VA being the first hire. And that would give me structure, more time to do the sales, and also being able to buy back some hours in my day as well. So that's the stage where I'm at now.
Yeah, it's exciting stage. It's going to get so much more fun now. I think I can sense it in you as well because we're talking regularly anyway, but I can see how right at the beginning, the pace at which I was trying to push you and to say, look, come on, you can get this done, you can get this done. There was almost like a little bit of a battle because it was like, I've never done this before and I'm trying to figure it out. But now that you're here, now it's like I see a completely different Cassim. It's like, yeah, we need to get this done really quickly. And it's you're almost like you're chasing me saying, when can I get this done? When can I get that done? So it's quite an interesting transformation to see. What about in terms of the impact that it's had on you professionally, personally? Do you feel more comfortable, confident in professionally and personally?
Yeah, because I feel like there is a lot of things that I've achieved and overcome this year, which then just makes me feel a lot more confident for the future. Things like having an event, things like having a podcast. I'd never had a podcast before, so to be able to then learn how to do one, having a studio, inviting guests, doing outreach on that. I feel like I've overcome a lot of hurdles, and then obviously learning software. Even though I'm in the tech industry and I recruit it, I wouldn't say that I'm a techie, and you probably know some of that because I often come to you and say, how am I learning this or what am I doing here? Which obviously great because the support is there. I've looked into automation tools in the past, but I just never ever dedicate myself to it. But then when working with you, it forces me to look into it as well. Because again, it's all, well, if Mohammed can do it and he's not a techie, like, why can't I do it? So I use that as obviously a way of learning things. There's been a lot of challenges in that sense. Naturally, when you're running your own business, I think time's the biggest challenge, something that we obviously talk about a lot. But then you can't control what the market environment does. So if the market is slow, if the market is fast, you can't control that. But what you can control is the actions that you do and obviously the processes you have in place. So there's been a lot of hurdles and challenges that way, but I do feel like I'm at a stage now where nothing phases me. So I know there's still elements of the program that we need to do, but now I'm looking at it in terms of like, how can I get there quicker rather than thinking, oh, I still need to make sure that I know this inside out. I need to implement this because there's still trial and error all the way through because, you know, every recruitment business is different. The markets are different. You'll be in a program with a lot of different recruiters and a lot of different markets, and not necessarily everything that you do with me will work for them. It's about learning and trialing and error and seeing what works and obviously sharing that with you and then coming up with solutions as well. But even the recruitment basics, so I know when we're on the program, we're talking a lot about all the new exciting things that we can do in order to, sorry, that light goes off in here, new exciting things that we can do in order to progress the business. But then what I really like is how much focus you have on also the recruitment basics. And sometimes you forget about them when you're chasing the VA, you're chasing all these tools. When was the last time you checked in with your existing clients? It's been 90 days. You need to make sure that you're reaching out to them, see what's going on. And that way you can generate vacancies. Just little basic things like that where you might forget to do, but it's good that you would ask me about things like that as well. So yeah, plenty of challenges, but I feel like now anything that you throw at me, the market throws at me, recruitment throws at me, I feel like I'm in a better place, confident that I can do it, which is really good.
Glad you feel that way. Really happy for you. No, like obviously it's been just over a year now that you've had the business. Saw the post that you put up celebrating the year. If you, knowing what you know now, and if you were to start the entire business all over again, what would you do differently?
So I would have probably got in touch with you on the first day. That's been number one. But yeah, I think it's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes you're like, oh, I change all this, but then sometimes you think, well, I wouldn't change anything because what I've done has sort of got me to where I am now. But it probably would be just knowing what I know now, like a little bit quicker and finding you. But again, I found you probably at the right time of finding you because I probably wouldn't have been able to find you earlier. But I think it would just be a case of just implementing things a bit quicker, not worrying about things as much. Maybe also not, and just like limited belief. But I think sometimes it can come with like setbacks and knockbacks as well. Although I left my previous business on good terms, my previous business partner is a good friend of mine, I still felt when I set up, I had this self-doubt of, well, can I actually do it myself? Do I need, my business partner was really good at a lot of things, and I'm not going to have that support network. I'm not going to have those tasks done with me or shared for me. Can I do it myself? And I almost got this a little bit of like imposter syndrome or self-doubt. So I wish that maybe I didn't have that at the start as well, because then naturally it can affect motivation, it can affect how you work, and you can then put limited beliefs into yourself to think, oh, well, actually, well, even if I just break even the first year, I'd be happy, or even if it's just me for the next few years, I'm happy. But I wish that when I left that business and started this one, I was a bit more reinvigorated to be like, you know what, actually, now it's just me. I can just really go out there on my own terms and I can do what I want to do. So probably being a bit like that. But again, it just happens with time. And obviously I think I like to see, I'm very practical. So I think if I can't see something working or haven't seen it in practice, then it takes me a little bit of time to get around to the idea. But as soon as I see something working for me or see a real example of it, that then makes me think, yeah, actually, I can do this as well. And you've probably seen examples of that with me in the program, where if something's maybe not worked straight away, there might be a bit of doubt or there might be a bit of resistance to speed it up. But then once the result comes, then it's okay.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But again, that's probably just a bit more me. So maybe just, I would say like limited beliefs. I think I'm totally probably more confident. Obviously, I know there's always challenges, and I am quite hard on myself naturally. So I know that there's always times that I can be doing things better. But I think, yeah, that element of it would be just maybe not being as hesitant to get things done, and just having a bit more belief in what I'm doing, which I know sounds crazy because I've been in recruitment for 10 years. I've been obviously a business owner for 7 years, but it's still natural, I think, to feel like whenever you're getting ahead of where you were meant to be. I mean, obviously, like if I look back to when I first started in recruitment, someone had said to me, you're going to be in recruitment for 10 years, you're going to own your own business, you'll have a team of 6, you'd have generated this much revenue, you'd have agreed terms with these many companies, you'll have a relationship with these many people, you'll have a podcast, you'll have an event, you've met and got a relationship with hundreds of people in your market. It's not a bad place to be.
It isn't at all. It isn't at all. And yeah, the new journey that you speak about as well is going to be an interesting and an exciting one as well. I've got a few more questions, by the way, and then we're going to start to draw this to a close. Was there any part where you felt like this part of the training or this part of the program is the bit that really stood out to me?
I'd say when we were doing a specific task when it came to automation and outreach to businesses, and I think what I really liked about it was like you actually walked me through it step by step, because you knew it was quite a big piece and quite an important piece. And I really liked how much sort of care you put into making sure that the outreach goes to the correct people with the correct messaging, and it's not just going to be like a spray and pray type of thing. It's going to be very strategic. It's going to be very relevant, and like got some really good results. We looked at, we obviously analysed the figures in terms of what response we got, what percentages, and it is much more than what you would get on average. That part of it just stands out because of like how much time that you went over and above what you do in terms of, I know you're there whenever I need to. You're there with the coaching calls. You were like, look, Cassim, I know obviously this part is quite tricky. So rather than just saying to you, like, go off, do it in a week, we'll catch up. You were like, I'll spend that extra time to make sure that you do it correctly. And we did. We implemented it. I mean, when I look back, I probably could have done it myself, but having known that you were there and doing it with me, one, it sped up me doing it. And secondly, obviously, it just made sure that we were going through there quicker. So that part stands out just because of the extra time you did. But outside of that, every tool, every process that we've put into place has been a benefit to the business. And obviously, it resulted in me having one of the best months or the best month since setting up the business, which was like a 36 grand month. So there was like a culmination of, as I mentioned earlier, some of the recruitment basics that you were questioning me on, but also then with the outreach, with the automation tools. It was weird where we've been working together, so obviously we're in September now. It was just like really good timing, how like a lot of things just fell into place. But it was at the end of like when we'd put a lot of implementation together, a lot of outreach together, a lot of processes together, and finished at that time. I was really pleased with that month. And I think that going forward, that there will be more of those months because of the things that we've put into place. And yeah, so that just really stood out to me, where I probably felt like it would take a lot longer to get to where we are. I know there's been obviously some hiccups, especially we almost lost a month because of like some of the personal issues I was dealing with. But I feel like I'm in a good place where, you know, now like you said, I'm at a stage where I'm like, I'm trying to get this thing done quicker, and I'm trying to get to the next stage quicker, because I can almost see not light at the end of the tunnel. Like you said, like we are probably like halfway through the program, but it's starting to make a lot more sense. But I think it does, sometimes it can take time. So obviously for anyone watching, I'd recommend not to get too overwhelmed by everything, because naturally there are going to be things that you've never done before, things you've never considered. And then you do have to change your mindset a little bit to be open to trying things that you probably sometimes naturally might not do yourself, or you've been scared to do. There's nothing that can happen that's going to be catastrophic, is there? Like, you're not being rude to clients or potential people, you're not messing up your business to the point where you're going to set yourself up to fail. Like, a lot of tools and implementations we're putting in aren't stupidly expensive, and I think you're conscious of that as well. You're conscious of the cost of things and pricing, because I've been in that position where I've had so many outgoings in terms of like software subscriptions and tools, but we make sure, and you make sure, that everything that we have has a decent ROI on it and is very competitively priced. And you've got some good connections and discounts as well, which is always handy as well.
Yeah, I give you all of my contacts. Of my contacts. Just on that, because you mentioned something specific about the support. One thing that I'm quite keen on is making sure that everybody gets a customized experience and everything is tailored to your niche and your market. Now, I've never recruited tech. I've never recruited in your part of the world. And sometimes I've had the question about, will it work in my location or my geographic location or in my niche? What would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, with the tools and process improvement, I can't see how it wouldn't work in any market, because the premise is the same. And obviously in recruitment, as much as we can complicate it, it is essentially quite simple. The main things are, you're looking to how you can attract clients to work with, and then how you can attract candidates. Especially my market's a short market, but I guess most people that you work with will be in the short market because there's a supply and demand need there. With the tools and stuff we've implemented, genuinely I can't see how it won't work in any industry unless it's very specific. But again, even if you've got a very small list of companies you can go to, with the amount of tools and outreach and automation you can do, it would just make things easier and simpler as well. So you can go large and wide, or you can go inch wide, inch wide, mile deep, where you to just focus on an area, but it would just mean that you can do everything. So generally, if you've got a small market with maybe 2,000 candidates and 300 companies, the tool and processes work. Similarly, if you've got 10,000 candidates and 1,000 companies, it would work again, because the process and everything is built to scale as well. So you can literally take it as far as you want. So even with me, initially when we were speaking, I was very happy with a small amount of the market and being a steady Eddie prodded along. But then this has now allowed me to scale into more areas than I would have done, even if I was doing it more manually or trying to build market to market map and things like that. With a lot of the tools we've implemented, there's a lot of stuff that's happened a lot quicker than it would normally take as well. So going back to your question, I do feel like this could work for any market, because you're improving every aspect of a recruitment business. So I can't see how it can't happen. You're improving the basics, you're improving the tools, the structure, the strategy, and also the support as well. So you will get, even if you get 1% in each of them, you probably get a 10% increase in terms of, what you're looking to achieve, and positivity in terms of going in an upward trajectory. So yeah, definitely, I feel like any market.
Fantastic. I appreciate you saying that. Well, what about your personal measure on the ROI that you've got? How would you describe that?
I mean, we laugh about it. So I would say to you, it's been great. And you're like, well, look, we're not even like a quarter way through the program yet. We're not even halfway through. And this is amazing. Honestly, you've showed me so much. But for me, yeah, the ROI has been great. Like I said, I've built consistently every month since we've been together. And I know some of that will be because of the work I did prior to joining the program. But being on the program hasn't meant that I've had to lose billings. And I think that is one of the things you said. You honest with me, you said there might be some things that might take us a little bit while to implement. While we're implementing, that can naturally affect your billings, because you're then taking time away from doing your day-to-day stuff. And so I've always been conscious of that. But to be honest, I think you even asked me, you said, oh, look, even have you felt that? And I said, no. And you said, even in the coming months now, we're getting our first employees in place, we're getting the VA in place. Naturally, there will be time that we're putting in training, we're putting in onboarding, we're putting in all these things that you have to spend time on, because you want to get it right from the off, rather than, in my experience, obviously in the past with other businesses, you not wing it, but you try stuff, it doesn't work, you try stuff, it doesn't work. So as long as we get it right the first time, there will be some time, and then there may be a bit of a drop off, but it hasn't affected me in terms of revenue lost, because it's just been like pretty easy to fit into my day, and setting that time aside to be like, no, this is the time that I'm going to dedicate to better myself, better my business, and work on the business. Yeah, the return has been like really fivefold in billings, in the way that my mindset and mentality changes. And I might be oversharing a little bit here, and I hope you don't mind, but even with some of our coaching calls, sometimes afterwards I'm probably like thanking you, saying I needed that in terms of more of a mindset shift, or like in terms of discipline, because obviously motivation, it goes up and down like all the time. Some days you're absolutely at it, some weeks you're absolutely at it, and some weeks you can't do more than a few hours without feeling distracted and things coming on top of you. I would say, like, in terms of processes, in terms of mindset, in terms of support, in terms of revenue, in terms of strategy, in terms of structure, in terms of future, there's so many things that I've been able to get from the program that will put me in good stead. And maybe we can do this chat again in the year, and I'd love to share.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you know, where I've got in that time, because I genuinely feel like I've got a plan and I've got a vision that is probably something that I've probably had in my mind, but I just didn't know how to get there. Or I couldn't have got there quick enough. I think working on this program has probably accelerated me a lot more quicker than I would have done naturally myself, but also maybe not understanding how I can get to a stage in business where naturally I want to generate more revenue. I want to have more time to myself. I want to spend more time with family. I want to spend more time on self-improvement. Having this in place will definitely allow me to do that. So that's the part I'm really looking forward to now. I'm trying to accelerate that even more now to get there quicker.
I'm looking forward to seeing it as well. I've got a final few questions, and then we're gonna wrap up as well. If you look back to before we started, and there's somebody else in that same situation, is there anything that you would tell them to avoid?
That's a good question. And obviously, I thought it was going to be something different. Avoid wise, I would say, I think naturally, if somebody's maybe interacting with you in terms of seeing your post, resonating with what you're doing, looking at obviously your business, seeing that it's doing really well, they may look to then obviously look at other companies or other businesses that are probably doing a similar program to you, or they're probably considering everything. So it's going to be quite difficult, I think, in terms of, I wouldn't say avoid it. I think it's maybe avoid not taking action for one. So I would say speak to other people that are interested in seeing that you feel like really resonate with yourself, but avoid not taking action. So the worst thing that you can do is not do anything and just prod along and not look into how you can improve your business. I understand people have different goals and different strategies and different aspirations, but sometimes that can change, for certain. From speaking to you, I had to quickly realize, well, hold on, I'm looking at things in just one way. Why have I not considered looking at it a different way? And so I'd say avoid not taking action, avoid maybe trying to do everything yourself, because again, would you not rather do something that somebody's already done and then they can show you all the lessons from it, and that means you'll get there quicker, rather than thinking, okay, well, yeah, this coach has recommended this tool, or they must obviously use this tool and this tool. I'll implement it myself. But the time it's going to take you to implement it, the time it's going to take you to put it together, naturally, I think there'll just be a longer learning curve and trial and error. There's a lot of things we do where it's almost templated out. It's almost, that everything is templated out, I guess. You've got the training manuals, you've got the instructions, what to do, the recommendations, how to change stuff over time. So that's what I'd say, like, avoid not doing anything. But that is obviously only if you do have the aspirations to grow. If you're happy with how you're doing, just obviously carry on doing that. But if you do have a desire inside you to think, you know what, I do want to have better billings, I do want to have more employees, I want to buy back more time to myself, I don't want to just be an employee stuck in my business, I want to be able to do things, then I'd obviously recommend that you don't avoid looking at ways in which you can improve, because every aspect of your business can be improved. You just need to go out and search for it and find the right solution for it.
What would you say to that person who probably is a bit nervous or on the fence to take the next step, or even having a conversation with me? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think you have to almost go into the conversation. Like with me, genuinely, when I was having the conversation with you, I didn't really have any set expectation in terms of, sometimes you might go into a tool and you've already made your mind up, be like, you know what, I'm not going to take this out. I'll just go along anyway and see what it's like and see if it's worth it, or maybe I might afford it further down the line. I think initially just have the conversation, and I think quite quickly you'll realize that obviously, Mohammed, like, I know I'm speaking in almost third person, but yourself, you can bring a lot of value to the business and you listen. I think you have some really good ideas initially. Even when somebody speaks to you, I'm sure you give away value for free. Obviously, you do plenty of videos and plenty of stuff that you give away for free. You've got your programs that you give away. So I think just have the conversation with you and how you feel. Like, is Mohammed going to bring value to my business? You don't necessarily have to get on with him. Can I get on with him? But also you need to know, will Mohammed hold me accountable? He's not just going to be there as a friendly face. He's going to hold me accountable. Can I put up with that? as a business owner, naturally, you want to work for yourself. So you don't like people telling you what to do. And I know you don't tell me what to do, but it's good to have that accountability to be like, well, last week we said we're going to get to here. Have you done this? Okay, cool. When we get on the call next week, let's make sure that we've done this, and then we can progress to the next step and next step. So in short, sorry, I know I'm getting a long-winded answer here. I would say have the conversation and then decide on there. I've had people reach out to me that obviously spoke to you, and I've just been really honest with them and said, look, this is my experience, what I've done, Mohammed, it's up to you, obviously you want to take it. I'd say have the conversation, and then at least you'll know, obviously Mohammed's not overly pushy. I mean, you'll know yourself, can I work with this person? Am I going to bring value to them? And I know you would say, if you couldn't, that I don't think this is going to be right for either of us. So
I've had people on those calls and I've said that.
yeah, absolutely. So I'd say, yeah, if you want to push yourself, you want to improve your business, then I think it's worth speaking to you, because you will get to where you want to be quicker. You'll learn some great tools along the way, but you also won't allow us to forget about the recruitment basics. What got us to this stage in recruitment all those years, you can't just throw them away and think I'm going to go for the next shiny tool. Like, you have to put everything into play, everything you've learned, and then keep learning and always be learning and seeing what's out there.
I think I want to add this little personal anecdote as well. There's an element of transformation that you see in the business. Honestly, the real transformation, and I can see it maybe more than you, is actually in you. So seeing like where you were, like the conversations that we were having right back at the beginning, and you can go to the call recordings and you can see like what were we thinking about, what were the stresses, what were the pressures, what were the concerns and worries, to where we are now, where it's let's just get this going as quickly, as fast as we possibly can. And it's a completely different person that I feel like I'm talking to now, only a few months later. Credit to you for that more than anything else, because there's no problem. There's two parts to it. That there's one thing that, you know, I can give you all the information and push you and give you all the practical stuff, but you're somebody who's actually followed through and done with it as well. Yeah, well done to you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But again, it's obviously credit to you and your help as well. It's been great. And like I said, you've always been prepared to go the extra mile. And genuinely, I feel you've dedicated a lot more time than the amount of money I've paid you in terms of that as well. I feel like I'm getting a really good return. And every week we're still speaking, and you've made that commitment to me. You've said to me that my commitment to you is that I'm going to get you through this program and get you to a place where you want to be. And I can see that you're dedicated to doing that, which is, you see a lot of things out there online, people selling courses, or and like a lot of some like negativity surrounding that as well. So it's just to give someone reassurance that, you know, you've went down that path yourself and you can see the results. You know, you can see your business online, you can see the good work that they're doing. I feel like you're in a stage where, like I said to you a couple of weeks ago, now we'll call aspire to be at a place at where you're at the moment, and then hopefully see from there. Will I be satisfied? Who knows? I mean, we always want to push ourselves, but it's a good place to aspire to be at. And obviously you've been there and you're happy to obviously provide me the support to try and get to that position as well, which I'm confident I will get to, because like I said, we're making some good progress in the program now. Maybe the second half will take it. We can hopefully get it completed quicker than what we did the first half. And yeah, it's great to hear that. If you sense that bit of a shift in me, I'm just keen to just keep that going.
Let's keep it going. Well, that's what we're working on next. So I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next call when we do speak again. Are there any other final comments you want to leave it before we wrap up?
Yeah, just that obviously I feel like we built a good rapport. I feel like you said you hold me accountable. I don't want to swear, but you know, you're not going to take anything like that from me, because you've been down that path, you know. So even if you know that I'm trying it, you quickly can see that. So I think, you know, you're always very honest. You always give good feedback. You willing to be adaptable as well. Like you said, you want to have a personalized touch. So when there's been some challenges in terms of we're trying things and maybe we're not making any leeway, and naturally there will be hiccups and hurdles along the way, we've always come to solutions. You've talked me through stuff, or you've maybe asked me, well, what would you do in that scenario? What would work best for you? And then I've gone away and fixed it. Just the support's been great. The tools, the automations, the mindset, the business structure, and everything has been really good. It's really clearly laid out. So I think for me, I do like to see, I guess, like examples of things that have worked. I'm very logical. So if I can logically see how things are going to fit into place, then I feel a bit more comforted and feel a bit more confident. Again, we're at a stage where I can see the vision now and I can see where this will go. So getting the VA in, getting a resourcer in, getting a recruiter in, what the structure. And it's funny because that's the very first thing that is in your training program is like, watch this module, and that is literally what the start of it is. So it's there from the very first lesson, but it's almost like now I can see it because I'm putting it into action.
I'm going to make a YouTube video on that, by the way, just explaining like how it all comes together, just for clarity,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'll remind you of this. When you watch that video, the next call that we had, you were like, I've already made all my money back. It's like, I've got everything that I wanted. I was like, what are you on about? We haven't even started yet. And I still remember that moment. Yeah, appreciate everything that you've said and the insights that you've provided. I'm looking forward to continuing working with you. I genuinely mean that. And I'm excited to see what the next few months are going to bring as well.
Yeah,
So
no, absolutely. Me too. Can't wait to see what we can achieve.
no worries. And thank you so much for joining me on here. I'll leave some information below in the description for anybody else who wants to get a similar transformation. But
Yeah.
for now, thank you, Cassim, and I'll see you again pretty soon.
Yeah, no problem, Mohammed. Thank you.